There's something special about RPGs and pixel art. Each frame carries intention, style, and a touch of nostalgia that still finds space for innovation. In recent years, the genre has evolved without losing its roots, delivering games that mix deep stories, intelligent systems, and memorable worlds. It's not just about retro aesthetics. It's about creativity with its own identity. This list gathers the best pixel RPGs of the last 5 years, all with soul, courage, and plenty of content. Every game here deserves attention, not because it imitates the past, but because it knows how to reinvent it with personality. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring daily content so you don't miss any details of the gaming universe. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy. From one gamer to another. Opening our list, we have Techno Banter, a game strange in the right way. Those games where you start not quite understanding much, but soon realize you're stuck in a universe made of noise, dry jokes, and an atmosphere that mixes post-apocalypse with absurdity. The plot revolves around a decaying city where artificial intelligences, humans, and mutations live together amid sarcasm and existential crises. The narrative is driven by sharp dialogues, full of references that sound more like bar conversations than rehearsed scripts. The gameplay is focused on character progression and exploration, with turn-based combat bringing interesting variations in chips, dice, and quick decisions. The customization systems are accessible but clever enough to let you experiment with builds that make sense within that stylized chaos. Each new area of the map is a loose piece of a larger puzzle. Not everything connects right away, and that's part of the charm. The visuals are filled with glitches, intentionally broken pixel art, a weird color palette, and elements that look like they came from a malfunctioning computer. But everything here is intentional. Techno Banter bets on discomfort as its identity, and manages to convey a lot of personality with little. It's an RPG with more attitude than promises, more style than explanation. And that makes it one of the most curious and original experiences of recent years. In second place, ANNO Mutationem blends RPG, action, and science fiction in a futuristic city where everything seems shiny on the outside but rots on the inside. You follow a determined fighter on a quest for answers in a world dominated by corporations, strange cults, and technologies that manipulate the mind and body. The narrative has rhythm, pulling you in with intrigues and conversations that don't sound artificial. And even in moments of silence, the game says a lot with the settings and small details scattered across streets and interiors. The gameplay alternates between 3D movement through urban areas and 2D combat with swords, guns, and real-time abilities. This transition works better than expected, creating a constant contrast between the calm of exploration and the frenetic pace of battles. Progression is light, but allows you to experiment and adapt your style. The main focus is on ambience and mystery, but combat doesn't disappoint with varied enemies and bosses that demand attention. The visual style is one of the game's great strengths. The pixel art mixed with modern effects creates a unique aesthetic, with environments that seem taken from a dystopian anime. Neon lights, dark alleys, laboratories, and futuristic bars make up a cohesive world, full of personality. ANNO Mutationem is one of those games that doesn't follow a set formula. It risks, hits the mark, and leaves you wanting to keep exploring, even when the answers start to hurt. In third place, Sea of Stars is everything you expect from a classic RPG, but with a modern refinement in every detail. The story follows two young warriors of the solstice on a journey marked by ancient magic, forgotten legends, and a world that changes with every step. There's no filler, the plot gets straight to the point, but with rhythm, heart, and characters that make you care about every conversation and twist. It's nostalgic without being trapped in the past. The gameplay is turn-based, but not rigid. You need to press the button at the right time to cause more damage or defend better, which gives rhythm to the battles. Enemies are well varied, and the combinations of abilities bring a good level of strategy. Outside of combat, the map is full of small surprises, hidden paths, and mini-games that break the linearity without losing focus. Everything is well tied together and flows naturally. The visuals are incredibly beautiful. The environments change dynamically depending on the time of day or the spells used, and the pixel art is so detailed it seems alive. The soundtrack, with touches of melancholy and adventure, accompanies the tone of the journey with a rare balance. Sea of Stars doesn't try to reinvent the genre. It simply does everything with so much care and precision that it's impossible to put down. If you love RPGs that respect your time and your emotions, this is one to cherish. In fourth place, Octopath Traveller II takes everything that worked in the first game and elevates it to another level, unafraid to bet even more on the strength of individual stories. The game introduces 8 protagonists, each with their own journey, set in a world that mixes classic fantasy with a touch of industrial age. The most interesting part is how these stories gradually intertwine, not hurriedly, but with purpose. You feel that each path is worth it, and when the connections begin to appear, the impact is even greater. The turn-based combat system is one of the most strategic and engaging in the genre. The break and boost mechanic forces you to study the enemy, save energy, and attack at the right moment. Adding each character's unique abilities adds even more depth, whether it's through manipulating NPCs, switching classes, or exploring alternate routes on the maps. The rhythm of the battles is so well adjusted that even in long fights, everything remains exciting. The HD, 2D visuals continue to be a spectacle on their own. The environments look like living dioramas, with light, shadow, and depth effects making each city and field feel like an interactive painting. The soundtrack accompanies perfectly, ranging from melancholic to epic. Octopath Traveller II is an RPG that values structure, characters, and atmosphere, and does so with such balance that you'll want to revisit every corner, every story, just to see what else the world has to offer. In fifth place, Eastward is pure charm wrapped in constant melancholy that hangs over every pixel. The story follows 2 characters crossing a world partially destroyed by a mysterious plague, traveling through underground cities, strange villages, and landscapes that seem forgotten by time. It's a game that mixes humor and sadness with an absurd naturalness, creating sincere moments, sometimes uncomfortable, but always human. The gameplay alternates between real-time combat and puzzle solving with the 2 protagonists. One has strength, the other agility and access to special abilities, and switching between them becomes an essential part of the challenge. The stages are varied, with smart design and simple combat, but requiring attention. Besides that, you can cook, explore, chat with amazing NPCs, and dive into a world that never reveals everything at once. The game is a work of art. Each setting is full of details, with meticulous animations, subtle expressions, and colors that reflect the mood of each part of the journey. The soundtrack reinforces the nostalgic and dreamlike atmosphere, creating a strong emotional connection. Eastward doesn't need epic battles or moral choices to capture your attention. It just invites you to keep going, to observe, to feel. And when it ends, it leaves that strange feeling that you've said goodbye to a place that really existed. In sixth place, Death Trash mixes flesh, dust, and philosophy in an action RPG that feels like it came straight from a grotesque cyberpunk nightmare. You wake up expelled from a perfect technological society, only to find yourself in a world devastated by cosmic horrors, living flesh creatures, and strange cults. The narrative is dry, sarcastic, and filled with existential dilemmas. The gameplay combines direct combat with shotguns, swords, and special abilities, all in a fluid and brutal system. The maps are built with care, alternating between technological ruins, radioactive deserts, and organic caves that seem alive. Everything pulses with strangeness and intention, as if the world is constantly on the brink of collapsing into madness. Death Trash is dirty, unpredictable, and intelligent, made for those who like RPGs that don't apologize for being weird and leave you uncomfortable in the best possible way. In seventh place, Arco stands out by straying from ready-made formulas and diving straight into a world that pulses with magic, mystery, and a touch of melancholy. The plot is fragmented, told more through symbols and feelings than long dialogues. But this only heightens the curiosity. Each new environment seems to hide a secret that doesn't want to be revealed easily. And even without direct explanations, everything makes sense. There's an internal logic that draws you in, even when you don't understand everything immediately. The combat has rhythm, weight, and demands attention. Nothing is automatic. You need to think about attacks, calculate timing, and react precisely. The abilities are unlocked through subtle progression, and the way they integrate into the world reinforces the idea of constant discovery. It's not just about defeating enemies. It's about understanding space, mastering small challenges, and adapting to the game's silent language. Delicately designed scenarios blend with a soft, almost whispered soundtrack, creating an atmosphere that doesn't scream for attention but gently pulls you in. Everything is made with a sense of beauty and care that shines through, even in the emptiest areas. Arco doesn't rush, doesn't push. It gives you space to walk at your own pace, and in this more intimate rhythm, it delivers one of the most sincere and memorable experiences among recent pixel art RPGs. In 8th place, Arcadian Atlas is a tactical RPG that respects the legacy of the classics, but with its own identity and a focus on narrative. You follow two soldiers caught in the middle of a civil war, with choices that go far beyond the battlefield. Each new mission reveals more about the conflict, the hidden motivations, and the cost of each decision. The combat follows the traditional tactical turn-based style, on grid maps where positioning is everything. The classes are varied, equipment truly affects your performance, and the game isn't afraid to be challenging. With each battle, you feel like you're not just winning, you're surviving, protecting, or losing something important along the way. The pixel art is detailed, the environments are dense, and the soundtrack complements with compositions that enhance the weight of the decisions. Arcadian Atlas doesn't try to impress you with explosions or exaggerated effects. It focuses on story, strategy, and consequences. In 9th place, Ravenlok mixes a distorted fairy tale with direct action in an RPG that leans more on the feeling of being inside an illustrated book than on complex systems. The story follows a girl transported to a realm ruled by a tyrant and bizarre creatures, in a world that seems to blend Lewis Carroll with colorful surrealism. Each environment is a new surprise, with settings that border on psychedelic, but always with that touch of childlike magic that hides something darker underneath. The gameplay is simple but efficient. Swords, shields, spells, everything flows smoothly, allowing you to focus more on the journey than on menus or complicated button combinations. The bosses have personality, the battles are quick, and progression is accessible. Even those not used to action RPGs can quickly get into the rhythm, and this helps the game maintain its focus on exploration and discovery. The visuals combine pixel art with stylized 3D settings, creating a unique identity that makes every new location feel like an interactive illustration. The music accompanies with a soft, mysterious tone, enhancing the strange fairy tale atmosphere. Ravenlok may not be the deepest game on the list, but it has a special charm, the kind that makes you want to see what comes next, just to discover what else this strange world hides behind every colorful door. In 10th place, Bandle Tale: A League of Legends story takes a light, cozy tone, very different from what you'd expect from the world of Runeterra. The focus is on rebuilding a village after a magical collapse, with daily tasks, cute interactions, and an environment that feels more like a hug in the form of a game. Even though it's part of the League of Legends universe, the approach is relaxed, accessible, and aimed at those who enjoy exploring at their own pace, building, and meeting eccentric characters. The gameplay revolves around management, crafting, and relationships. You gather resources, build structures, cook recipes, and help the village's inhabitants, all at a calm pace that becomes addictive without rushing. The missions are short but full of personality, and the way each character reacts to your actions gives a sense of closeness that keeps you engaged. It's less about challenge and more about enjoyable routine, the kind that you're happy to repeat. The pixelated art is lively, full of smooth animations, charismatic characters, and a clever use of colors that reinforces the light fantasy mood. The soundtrack accompanies with calm and delicate tracks, perfectly matching the slow pace of the journey. Bandle Tale doesn't want to throw you into epic battles. It wants you to feel like part of a place, like someone important to that little world. And in that goal, it hits the mark with a unique style that blends perfectly with its proposal. In the 16th position, Hammerwatch II expands everything the first game proposed, but with a more refined touch and a much more ambitious world. This time, the linear structure gives way to an open map, full of paths, cities, caves, and relentless enemies. The feeling is one of total freedom to explore and face challenges in whatever order you prefer, with areas that hold secrets and dangers in equal measure. The combat remains fast and direct, with well-defined classes and abilities that you can combine to create your own playstyle. Whether facing swarms of enemies, unpredictable bosses, or just trying to survive a new type of trap, the pace never slows down. Playing solo works, but the game truly comes alive when played in a group, with each person taking on a different role and improvising in real time during battles. The visual style opts for a more polished pixel art, with varied environments ranging from dense forests to ruined fortresses. There's a clear attention to detail, from magic effects to the soundtrack that complements the atmosphere of each region. Hammerwatch II maintains the original arcade spirit, but adds depth and variety without losing its rhythm. It's one of those games where the more you wander around the map, the more you realize that something new always awaits just after the next bridge. In the 12th position, World of Horror stands out as one of the most disturbing and stylistically unique experiences of recent years. Inspired by Lovecraftian cosmic horror and the unsettling style of Eastern horror films, the game takes place in a small Japanese town where supernatural events begin to pile up with alarming frequency. Each playthrough is a new investigation, a new curse, and the weight of doubt follows you all the way. What is real? What is hallucination? What should you never have discovered? The gameplay blends RPG elements with roguelite mechanics. You explore locations, collect clues, manage scarce resources, and face horrors that cannot be defeated with brute force alone. The choices are cruel, and the tension builds because everything is unpredictable. A simple visit to a hospital can lead to revelations that affect the rest of the story. Even in victories, you always feel that something was lost along the way. The 1-bit visual style, with graphics that look like they were drawn by hand on an old computer, reinforces the uncomfortable atmosphere. Distorted sounds, a minimalist soundtrack, and enigmatic text create a suffocating environment that never lets you feel at ease. World of Horror doesn't scream. It whispers something strange in your ear and leaves you alone to deal with it. A game made for those who love deconstruction, mystery, and that kind of horror that continues to hammer in your mind even after the screen goes dark. In the 13th position, Lost Ruins plunges straight into a dark, claustrophobic world full of mystery, with a pixelated aesthetic that contrasts with the violence and charged atmosphere. The story begins with a young girl without memory waking up in an underground world full of monsters, witches, and figures who aren't exactly trustworthy. The game doesn't explain everything right away. You piece together the narrative through enigmatic dialogues and documents scattered through wet and dangerous corridors. The combat is real-time, focusing on magic, positioning, and strategic use of the environment. Casting a fire spell near water, for example, can completely change the outcome of a fight. There is a variety of weapons, enchantments, and accessories that allow for different playstyles, and each new ability changes the way you face the challenges ahead. The bosses are brutal and require total attention to understand their patterns and react with precision. The art direction balances cuteness and brutality in a way that catches attention. The characters have delicate, almost innocent traits, but the world around them spares no blood, threats, or tension. The soundtrack helps reinforce the atmosphere of mystery and urgency, with tracks that complement both the exploration and the more intense moments. Lost Ruins doesn't try to reinvent the genre, but it succeeds in creating a closed, uncomfortable, and addictive space. The kind of place you enter not knowing what to expect and leave wanting more. In the 14th position, Tales of Iron surprises with a dark and bloody world where rats and frogs wage a brutal war in a ruined kingdom. Despite the visual style resembling an illustrated fairy tale book, the story is anything but light. You play as a prince who must reclaim his home, facing cruel enemies and challenges that test every step. The narrative unfolds without haste, with a firm narration and an atmosphere charged with tension, honor, and loss. The combat is direct, technical, and merciless. There's no quick win button. Every fight requires dodging, blocking, counterattacking, and precise reading of enemy movements. You feel the weight of the weapons, the slowness of heavy armor, and the urgency of attacking at the right moment. There are also RPG elements like equipment customization, meal preparation that provides bonuses, and upgrades that really make a difference. The 2D visual style is beautiful and detailed, with smooth animations and environments ranging from destroyed villages to infested caves. The art emphasizes the contrast between the childish style and the harshness of the depicted world. The soundtrack is discreet but powerful when needed, elevating the drama of battles and the loneliness in between. Tales of Iron is brutal, yes, but it's also elegant, narrative-driven, and full of personality. An action RPG that makes you respect each enemy and savor each victory. In the 15th position, Blasphemous II dives even deeper into the grotesque and religious universe that made the first game so striking. The sequel maintains the dark tone, but refines everything's smoother combat, more varied environments, and an art direction that isn't afraid to exaggerate the grotesque. The story continues to be shrouded in symbolism and sin, and even without revealing everything directly, you understand the weight of each act, each new enemy that crosses your path. The gameplay has evolved with precision. There are now new weapons, each with its specific style and use, and the right choice makes all the difference in battles against colossal bosses or hordes of tortured creatures. The progression system allows for free exploration, finding alternate routes and well-hidden secrets, while strengthening abilities and discovering fragments of the game's mythology. Every corner seems to hide something waiting for attention. The world pulses with a visual full of pain, faith, and regret. The pixel art is highly detailed, with intense animations and settings that seem like profane paintings in motion. The soundtrack is tense, melancholic, and powerful, another element that turns each moment into a ceremonial rite. Blasphemous II doesn't soften anything. It demands attention, reflex, and patience, and delivers a memorable journey where every step echoes like a bloody rite of redemption. In the 16th position, Loop Hero proposes an idea that seems simple, but soon reveals one of the most addictive systems of recent years. You don't control the hero directly. He walks on automatic loops, facing enemies and collecting resources while you, as a sort of higher entity, organize the world around him. Each card you play on the map alters the environment, creates new challenges, builds synergies, and slowly reveals what is truly behind the void that consumed the universe. The gameplay revolves around quick decisions and risk management. You build the environment, define the difficulty, choose when to retreat, and when to push for another loop. Items, buildings, and classes unlock over time, and it's impressive how the game keeps you engaged with just icons, text, and a well-thought-out internal logic. The progression is dense, and each new game teaches you something, even when everything goes wrong. The 1-bit visual style reminds of old PC games, with a reduced palette and raw animations, but this only reinforces the atmosphere of mystery and repetition. The soundtrack accompanies this spirit with hypnotic, almost ritualistic tracks that stick in your head. Loop Hero is one of those games that starts out unassuming and suddenly takes hours of your time without warning. Everything in it revolves, and you revolve with it, wanting just one more loop. In 17th place, Star Renegades blends science fiction with heavy tactics, offering a turn-based RPG that demands combat reading, planning, and constant improvisation. The story revolves around a rebel force fighting an empire that threatens not only planets, but entire parallel realities. This is told through runs that change procedurally, with unique events and character relationships that evolve with each new attempt or fall apart due to inevitable losses. The turn-based combat system uses a visible timeline where each action has a priority effect. This allows you to anticipate attacks, cancel enemy moves, and prepare defenses with precision. Each character's abilities complement one another, and forming a balanced team is essential to the strategy. The difficulty is real, but the game never feels unfair. It challenges you to understand how it works and think 2 or 3 turns ahead. The art direction opts for a vibrant visual style, with pixel art full of details and intense light effects that evoke 80s sci-fi animations, but with a modern twist. Each planet, combat, and dialogue has its own pace, accompanied by an electronic soundtrack that maintains the balance between tension and discovery. Star Renegades is challenging, stylish, and smart, made for those who like to think before they act, and continue thinking even after they lose. In 18th place, Unsighted delivers one of the most intense and emotional experiences that a pixel art action RPG has ever attempted. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, androids, aware and with feelings, fight against time before losing their souls, a fate the game refers to as becoming unsighted. Every character you meet is on the verge of being forgotten, and you decide who to save, who to wait for, and who will inevitably disappear. These choices are not just narrative, they directly impact the gameplay. The combat is quick, precise, and clearly inspired by Metroidvania and Zelda classics, but with a stamina system that requires caution with each action. Swords, guns, grenades, and special abilities combine with total exploration freedom. You can follow any order, find shortcuts, use tools creatively, and the game encourages you to take risks, with time literally running out for everyone around you. The atmosphere carries a constant melancholic tone. Ruined cities, abandoned labs, gardens overtaken by silence, and characters who know every second matters. The pixel art is expressive, full of personality, and the soundtrack conveys a subtle weight that matches the urgency of the story. Unsighted isn't just about winning. It's about losing, making tough choices, and living with them. An RPG that grips your heart from the start and never lets go until the end. In 19th place, The Messenger starts as a straightforward platformer with 8-bit aesthetics, fast combat, and an exciting soundtrack. Then, suddenly, everything changes. The story, which begins simply with a mission to deliver a sacred scroll, turns into a time travel journey, with mechanics that evolve alongside the visual style. It's as if two games are hidden in one, and when the second half is revealed, the impact is immediate. The gameplay is fluid and responsive, with jumps, slides, and sword swings that feel choreographed when they land just right. The highlight is cloud stepping, a technique that lets you jump again after hitting an enemy or object, opening the door for amazing acrobatic sequences. As you progress, new abilities add to your repertoire, and the map becomes a massive, interconnected puzzle with increasingly creative challenges. The shift from 8-bit to 16-bit, both in visuals and music, is more than just a stylistic choice. It's a narrative mechanic. The worlds expand, characters gain depth, and the script's biting humor often subverts expectations. The Messenger is smart, fun, and technically flawless. One of those games that surprises you when you think you've seen everything and keeps delivering until the very last frame. In 20th place, Moonlighter combines two opposing aspects of RPG's intense action in procedurally generated dungeons and the calm of running a shop during the day. You play as a merchant who, at night, explores monster-filled ruins in search of rare items to sell. But it's not just about selling. It's about uncovering secrets, understanding the cycle of risk and reward, and strategizing survival and profit at the same time. Combat is in real time, with dodges, various weapons, and enemies that require reading and positioning. The dungeons change with each visit, filled with traps, creatures, and valuable chests. Each trip back with a full backpack is a relief, but also a question, could I have stayed a bit longer? Outside the dungeons, you manage prices, negotiate with customers, and even invest in the town, bringing in new shops and services. The pixel art is colorful, detailed, and full of personality, with smooth animations and environments that alternate between the mystical and the everyday. The soundtrack follows this duality, shifting from tension in the explorations to calmness during the shop's open hours. Moonlighter is addictive because it gives you a progression cycle that never feels forced. Each day, each dungeon, each sale is a small victory, and before you know it, you're already planning another quick run before closing time. And let me know which of these games you've had a chance to play. Did any spark your curiosity? And would you add it to your list of upcoming games? We'd love to know which one caught your attention the most. Share in the comments any game that should have been on the list, but didn't make it. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never be in doubt about what to play next. I'm leaving 2 videos on the card. One that I personally selected for you and another that YouTube picked for you. Just click on either one to watch. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.